I'll try and keep it relatively brief for this one. Somewhat. It's hard to say because right now, out of all the scenarios, I guess not scenarios, all the situations between each of the dragon gods, I personally think that the one that it's like the most little information and little going off of, but at the same time, it's the most interesting for me because of that, and that's Gray and Viernes. When you look at each of them, it's like, okay, Lucy was in Ermina. When you see the threats that you would logically go off of, because we didn't have any like suddenly a water dragon from out somewhere in the deep sea and his two homies show up and they're like, okay, what the water dragon god is pissed, so we're finally back. It's just like the serpent from the very beginning. His brothers show up and they're like, all right, we're finally going to be relevant in the story. No, it's not that, I would assume. But it's just going to be, okay, the people of Ermina and Mercphobia. And we already knew Mercphobia's personality. We just didn't know the style of the mind control. We don't have a direct explanation of it. But again, to me, it seemed like the way he went about it is he seemed more like an animal protecting his territory. And then he trying to eat his food, like hunt his prey. Because he wasn't trying to go crazy against Lucy. It just seemed like he was trying to get to the point of eating her. And they only were able to get to the point with Brandish and Lucy combined to destroy the Lacrima not because they had a way of defeating Mercphobia, but because they were able to use Mercphobia to literally smash into the Lacrima, destroy it, and get him free from that. So it's like, okay, that part is cool. Then we get over to Drasil areas, and it's kind of like a little bit back and forth. Aldron's dead, Aldron's alive, Aldron is dead, then Aldron's alive again in reality, apparently. Like, Aldron's just been jumping around the last couple like, so far this arc, his status has changed multiple times. It's been pretty funny. But we have like a clash between Ferris's group and Ignia, and then with the Erasion Sex, well, Ferris and Ignia, and then the Erasion Seis and the Erasion Sex, Urza's up against Wed. That one to me seems mostly like set in idea. Like, I don't think that one can kind of, like, those matches are cool. I want to see them, obviously. I want to see like what those events go towards, but we already know what those events are. Wendy, like, then obviously with Natsu and stuff, Wendy has her whole thing coming, but like now Natsu's over there too, so Natsu just kind of closes out the side thing he was doing over at Fire God Castle. Now he's over with Zero, and Wendy's got the Diablos members at age, so it's like, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing I can really think of being much of a danger in where Selene is at is, one, if she brings over the Moonlight divinities, maybe she turns them into dragons, and I think that'd be really cool to have dragon naming. I think it'd be hilarious. But like, I don't see any of them being really kind of scary threats. Maybe you turn some of the weaker members of Diablos we haven't met yet into dragons. I don't know. With Selene, though, the only other thing I can think of is if we have any of her children that are finally introduced. I know a lot of people have been waiting on that. And it's like one of those things that's very direct. It's like, if we think about it, okay, we know around what Selene ideally and her problems are going to be, but we also know what Wendy and the crew she has, and they're all Dragon Slayers. I think Wendy's just going to be the best equipped because Wendy's an amazing support character, and she has all these enchanting options, and now she has all these different characters to work around. I think Wendy's is going to be really cool once we get to it, because again, if we get to anything with Selene's children, I think that would be really hype to see. And if we get Dragon Mimi, I personally will be happy. But outside of that, Gray and Viernes, I think, has the most mystery to it. I think that's the strangest one, because that's the one that, like, right now, Gray is the most out of luck. Like, the only thing that I could see, and the only thing that I've seen anybody talk about, is if Athena shows up. But one, it doesn't look like Athena's been repaired. So, like, I don't really see what Athena would do in this scenario, for one. I think she could do, like, aid and support, but even at her full power, I just don't see what she would really do against Viernes. I don't really think there's going to be a fight right now, because personally, my whole thing has been, when it comes to the way that they've gone about this whole, like, reviving the dragon gods and turning everyone into dragons and stuff, I personally believe the Signario sisters doing it is a sign that alchemy is involved. And whatever type of mind manipulation that goes on the dragon gods, I think that is also alchemy set, and it's like a combination of alchemy and like maybe like dragon or attribute magic, dragon slaying magic, or just, you know, whatever they did that they made that flame. Maybe it's just like they have the dragon attribute into it, so their alchemy worked in this scenario only because it was buffed by Ignia or something. But with Viernes, I think it would make sense if Viernes, in the case of with alchemy, he's undoes it to himself, kind of like Madara with Edo Tensei, because he's just capable of that. Because it's like if you're brought back by a technique that is of the same abilities you are, but way below you, I would assume just based off of like mechanically how the character would work, you would just be like, oh, I've built in ways that I would just work around this in idea of mind control through alchemy. And then he's just he's back up in full, and he has his full power, and he's fine. Because I've got an idea. I'm going to do a video on each of the dragon gods in situation, because I'm very intrigued at what each of them is going to be doing moving forward. But Viernes, I think right now, could be the first segue of that. If something happens with him going about, like, again, if the video, like, my video is mostly going to talk about, like, where I can kind of see Viernes going right now, which it could be a million different ways. But, like, I personally have a general idea. And if it goes around that way, I'll definitely make that Dragon God video I'm talking about, because it's a little bit dependent on like two things. One of them is a little wilder, but it could happen, but I might just make it anyway, to be perfectly honest. But with Viernes, I think Viernes is going to have a conversation with Gray. He's going to want to talk to him, because I think he's going to be interested in him. And I think that the way that he's going to go about it, he might turn into like have a turn into or create a version of Duke to kind of like talk for him. Maybe he turns himself back into a concept to kind of chill. But I kind of like the idea that he's interested in Gray, because when he saw Gray in the castle, like he saw Gray going about stuff, he might be interested in, you know, the Fairy Tale Guild and having some form of own person in the fight of things. Maybe he doesn't want to really kind of be at an aggressive state of this. Because the one thing with Viernes we didn't get is we didn't get a lot of information behind him, and we didn't get a lot of just his backstory. I think it'd be really sick if maybe he's like, he kind of acknowledges that he lost, and at the same time he's just annoyed by it. But maybe he becomes one of those dragons where he doesn't like humans, but he likes kind of specific humans. And there's something about like Gray and the way that Gray kind of went about like his, I don't know, stuff with ice and just general like, oh, I saw your abilities. They're kind of close to similar to alchemy block. Because like there's a long string of stuff where like ice make magic and maker magic specifically has been compared to alchemy. And we've had like so many confusions between characters where the like Gray will see them, he's thinking they're using maker magic. They see Gray doing stuff, they think he's using ice alchemy. And it's one of those kind of like reoccurring things that I've always thought that Gray would get to, just because it's in line, I think, with Gray's character. Because a lot of the stuff, when you look at Mishima loves to do themes that are reoccurring but in different directions. And his rival characters, you know, you look at Gray, you look at Musica, you look at Wise, they've always had these super flexible powers that have these very high utility and versatility scenarios. And I think a lot of it just has to do with his original main character. If you go look at him talk about his original main character before he'd Rave Master, well, not his original, because like his original one before that was his one shot with Mugen. But then after that, you have with Rave Master, he was going to make the main character an alchemist, and he's just like, okay, well, that power was a little bit too violent for what I wanted the main character. Turned into a swordsman instead, which I don't really know entirely what his plans were with that. But he's kind of like stuck with similar-ish theming with each of his rivals since then. And I think Gray kind of being the one that's like the most known and the most forefront of it makes sense, as well as he's the one that's still going and needs to still be growing. If you give him a way to use alchemy to turn stuff into ice. Oh, I thought someone for a second was knocking on my door. My dog is just scratching. Hey guy, you're distracting me. What are you doing? But if he could turn stuff into ice and then, you know, either eat it, reshape it, and just do whatever he wanted to it with his magic as he went about his fights. Well, you know, who knows? I think that there's just some really intriguing conversation that we can have between Viernes and anyone right now, because Viernes out of any of the other Dragon Gods we got the least amount of conversation with. there's still like questions like, are we gonna get Dogromag back during all this? Who knows? Right now we don't know. We have Viernes and we have Alderaan, so who knows what the and Alderaan, who like allegedly was defeated again but then came back, so we're still waiting on that. So it's like, is Viernes technically like repeating immortal style right now? Like if you killed him, would he just come back in like 10 minutes? I don't know. Either way, it's going to be really cool to see where this bit goes, because Gray's only addition I personally can see is Athena, and I don't think that even Athena in her full state and Gray would even be able to remotely beat Viernes. It would have to be like a big group thing. I see this more of a segue into future events with Gray. Maybe he possesses Gray or something, I don't know. Maybe he tries to entice Gray and Gray's just like, nah, and he's like, you know what, I kind of like you, you're kind of cool. How about I teach you how to do something, and then in exchange, I'm gonna leave. I think it'd be really cool if Viernes was like, I don't want to be involved in this, but you know what? I'm here for right now. So he just kind of wants to go about things, and I'm hoping so bad all the Dragon Gods turn on Ignia, and it's like in a big Ignia battle. But anyway, other than that, before I ramble on about a completely unrelated topic. Other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos, and hopefully everyone will hear from that Dragon God video I'm planning. I might have two. There's two that I'm doing, because one is like an Ignia evolution video of that. I actually now, we'll see. I think I got a pretty good plan for that one. But anyway, other than that, bye.